Welcome to the Homegrown podcast. I'm your host, Liz Hazelmeyer, and our goal here is to educate, inspire, and equip you in your pursuit of true nourishment. Usually, my husband Joey is my co-host, but today is a solo episode because we're going to be talking about all things postpartum. Now, I've been thinking a lot about this show and really trying to process and ruminate over these last 11 weeks that I have been postpartum, and I'm been trying to really dive deep into what would have made my experience better, what did go well, what products or supplements or things inside of our house really served us well in this time so I can share them with you. And then I just also want to share my experience, some brutal honesty, and hopefully some tips to make your postpartum experience even better than mine. So this is my fourth time around. Our fourth baby was born in November, and so I'm going to be diving into all of those aspects. Before we get there, though, I do want to thank today's sponsor, Ancestral Supplements. I have been loving this company since 2021 when I placed my first order. Now, I've been taking their beef liver products for quite some time now. We recently also incorporated their protein powder, which we love. The vanilla has like this Rice Krispie treat flavor to it. It's so delicious, and it not only is bone broth based, but also has mushrooms and organs in for added nutrition, which is incredible. But I've also been really loving their Fem Enhancement product, Postpartum. It is designed to help regulate your menstrual cycle, balance moods, give you more energy, support your overall hormones, and just like general well-being as a woman. And so that's been super helpful. Also loved their liver. I took that during pregnancy along with their fish egg supplement. As you can tell, I have taken a lot of their supplements. And like I said, I've been ordering from them since 2021. So highly recommend this brand. They are third-party lab tested for purity, meaning there are no heavy metals. They source everything from regeneratively raised cattle in New Zealand, and they have a 30-day money-back guarantee on their products. So it's really a win-win. You can use the code Homegrown to get 15% off your order. And if you do, let me know what you try. DM me, shoot me a message. I want to hear your experience. I've already gotten so many good testimonials from you guys loving their products, and I want to hear more. So again, that is the code Homegrown. It saves you 15% off. Just go over to ancestralsupplements.com. Okay, so my postpartum experience this fourth time around, I'm going to be brutally honest. I love my babies dearly. I do not like the baby phase. I don't like it. And lately, I feel like everyone around me, especially how it's portrayed on social media, they just love it. It's just like this slow, peaceful time, and they just want to have more babies, and everything is just so blissful. And again, I'm sorry if that is ever what you've thought when you've come on my account. I do only share the highlights in this baby phase. I will be real. But that's why I'm doing this podcast, so that I can talk to you and kind of dive a little bit deeper into the behind the scenes, behind the curtain, if you will, of what this postpartum experience really is. Because whether you're a first-time mom or you've had 8 kids, every single time is different, and every single time brings new challenges and new opportunities. So, like I said, I am 11 weeks postpartum right now. We are just on the verge of exiting the newborn phase, which is very exciting. Our baby boy was born in November, if you missed that announcement. So now we have 3 girls and a little boy. And I will say, this postpartum experience, I had the most knowledge, the most understanding, the most intellectual ideas, the most philosophical leanings ever. Okay, I was over prepared. I've had almost 3 years of the podcast interviewing specialists and experts in the realm of parenting and babies and holistic health. So I have all of that information that I've taken in. I've read books, I've listened to other people's podcasts. I've just taken in so much information about babies. And so this fourth time around, I would say I was really well equipped. But the thing that felt the hardest to me was, I think, my personal support was lacking more so than it had been with other pregnancies. And part of that is my fault. I'm going to be honest with you. So here are a couple reasons why. Number one, Bowman our son was born 2 weeks early. So people who had planned to be at the birth or planned to be in town at the time of the birth weren't there. He came at 38 weeks, which was a big surprise because most of my babies come well after their due date. And so him coming 38 weeks just really surprised us. So, for example, my parents were not here. My mother was not here for the first 2 weeks of his life. And so that was hard for me. The other thing is that Bowman was born the night before gun season opens in Ohio and Indiana. And I know that sounds insane. We're talking about hunting here. That sounds insane to anyone who's not a part of a hunting family, but for us, hunting is such an all-encompassing season, and it's something that Joey prepares for every year and gears up for, and he leads a hunting camp and really takes a lot of that responsibility on cultivating the culture of the guys and making sure that they communicate with the landowner who allows them to hunt on land in Indiana. So he owns a lot of this. And so when all of a sudden the night before hunting season opens, when he's been gearing up to do this thing all week and leading a team of like a bunch of other guys, he's now taken out of the equation because his wife just went into labor 2 weeks early. And so there was even this moment of like, oh my gosh, like, what do we do? Like, this is kind of crazy. So I could feel, and I know my husband well enough to say like he felt a little split. I know he was like, I want to be here with my wife and my newborn son, and I want to, just soak up this time. But I'm also getting like texts and calls from the hunting group, and they've got questions and they want to run through scenarios, and I kind of want to go see their deer. And so I knew that it would just be healthy for him and healthy for me to say, you know what, go pop over there, check in, be present, allow yourself to kind of lean into how you're longing to be a part of that group, and then come back to us and be fully present with us and hang out with us. So again, that's a very unique situation to me specifically, but if you've got something that kind of rivals that sort of energy in your life, then you'll know what I'm talking about. You know when your husband is like, I love you so much, I want to help you, and also like his phone's ringing off the hook, and he wants to help and be with those people too. And so it's just little snippets of time throughout that first week that he would leave and go be with them. Maybe he did an evening hunt. A couple days after Bowman was born, he would go check in and see how the meat processing was going. And at the time, I was like, this is what he needs. This is what's good for us. I got Bowman. We're good to go. Now, I will say where I did lack support, and again, this is my fault, I think, is just being in the presence of someone else, particularly other women. I think I really should have leaned in and asked for more help. It's just nice to have the presence of other women. This is our moms, our sisters, our best friends, right? We want them to be around. We want to be around people who we don't have to feel weird if we have to breastfeed our baby, if they're crying, it doesn't bother this person. We don't feel like we have to entertain them. Having that female figure in your life just come and sit and be with you and have coffee with you, or bring you a sandwich, or bring you a couple groceries, can go so far. So this whole question of what does postpartum support really look like, I've been marinating on it, because on one hand, I had a lot of the support. I had a lot of the knowledge, the understanding. This is what I'm going to do. These are the courses I've taken. This is the stuff I've learned with my other 3 kids. But then I still was kind of surprised at how lonely I felt and how disconnected I felt. And so had I had a little bit more foresight, or had I been able to more quickly articulate my need, I think I could have filled in those gaps. So for you, if you are newly postpartum or you are about to enter into that season, think about who you want in your corner and how often you want them to be there. Think about, do you want to have someone come over and bring you coffee? Do you want to have someone come just sit with you and bring you lunch one day? And keep in mind, these people, they don't have to take the baby away from you for you to feel loved and appreciated and seen. Oftentimes it's even better if they can just sit and be with you, and you can handle the baby and snuggle the baby and get all that good oxytocin that needs to continue to flow in those first couple weeks. So think about who that person is. If you don't have anyone locally, can you FaceTime a friend? Can you just get into a conversation with someone who gets it, someone who understands? They don't have to have had kids yet, but they should be able to know you well enough to be able to either like tell you stories to distract you, tell you jokes to make you laugh because you're gonna cry because you've had no sleep, or support you in some other way. So find those people, identify them, let them know like, hey, I'm about to enter into this season. I'd love for you to come be with me in this time. This is how you can show support. A lot of people asked me, like, do you want to set up a meal train? Do you want food delivery? Like, what do you want? What feels most supportive is always the phrase. And I am always weary of meal trains. I just am so particular about the food that we eat. I didn't want a bunch of sweets coming to our house, which I know you can tell people that you don't want that, but people just bring it anyways. And I was like, I do feel like I have the food piece covered because Joey is an amazing cook and he was able to cover a lot of our meals for us. We have a 13-year-old daughter who was able to fill in and, could prep an easy lunch. But I will say the biggest food piece that was helpful was getting groceries delivered. I didn't realize that Kroger Boost is a thing. So I was just doing the regular Instacart delivery. And if you have a Kroger near you, you know what I'm talking about. But I'm telling you right now, save your time and your money and just sign up for Kroger Boost because there's free delivery. I think it's like $50 for the whole year. You don't have to pay a delivery fee every time. It's unlimited deliveries, I believe. You don't have to tip your Dasher or your Instacart person because it's built in. And I believe they shop directly from like their warehouse. And so you're going to run into less of, oh, this is out of stock, or, oh, this isn't fresh, or all these oranges are moldy. Thanks for grabbing them. That has been my biggest complaint with the grocery delivery is that like they don't check the produce. And I'm like, seriously, this whole like half the bag I have to throw away and yet I still had to pay for it. And yes, I could go return it, but I'm postpartum and that defeats the entire purpose of getting groceries delivered. So in hindsight, I should have signed up for Kroger Boost, which would have alleviated some of those. But even just using Instacart and getting those Kroger deliveries was so helpful because I could have a ton of berries delivered. I could get cheese, cottage cheese. If I needed some kombucha, I wanted something bubbly, some bubbly water, like just order it, deliver it, get an easy lunch out for the kids, and we were good to go. I would say if you live within 30 minutes of a major grocery chain, like they probably deliver to you or they have some sort of program. Amazon delivers Whole Foods, so that's a big option. You can do Kroger Instacart or Kroger Boost. I don't know if Meijer has a delivery service, but whatever grocery store or retailer is near you, check and see if there's a delivery option. Because for me, rather than having people bring prepped food from their house that I don't even know if my kids will like or if I will like or what I want, I could just order groceries, get ingredients, and snack on stuff all day. And then at the end of the day, have Joey or Sophia whip something together for dinner. So that was really helpful. So ask yourself that question and don't just give the basic answer that you think is the right answer. When you're asking yourself, what does postpartum support really look like for me? Like you have to really peel back the layers and say, no, like what am I actually going to need? Because I think it can be easier for us to think like, oh, well, if someone just comes and does my dishes or puts my laundry away or things like that, I'll feel loved. And that might be you. And if that does occur and you're like, wow, this is amazing, good, keep going with it. But if someone comes over and does those things and you're still like, man, I still feel, kind of lonely or isolated, or I'm not sure if that's exactly how I needed to spend that time. I wish I would have napped instead. Be quick to change your approach, be quick to pivot, and be quick to be honest with people. Just let them know. That's exactly what I should have done. I should have said, hey, Mom, I loved when you came over and brought me that sandwich. Can you do that like once a week? Because that would really like give me something good to look forward to. I didn't have those conversations, so I'm telling you to have those conversations now. Okay, so that's kind of my recap. I would say overall, postpartum, it's the hardest thing I've ever done. It is the hardest thing I have ever done. Having babies is the hardest thing I've ever done. And that's okay. I think that's what it's supposed to feel like. I don't think that I am in some illusioned state, or I don't think I'm struggling with postpartum depression or anxiety. I just think that it's a really, really hard season of life. And part of it is like, you just got to go through it. And every single time I think, oh, I will be able to, skip this part, or I can hack my way out of this part. Nope, you can't. You just got to walk through it. And so the best way to get through it is to equip yourself on, first of all, what am I going to be feeling and why? And second of all, is there anything I can do to at least lessen some of those negative feelings and then amplify the good experiences, which there are so many good parts of this early baby phase. But that doesn't mean that it's not hard. So overall, that's kind of my experience. And I want to dive into some really specific things that I think will help you in terms of things you can bring into your home. Okay, so let's talk about supplementation and baby product must-haves, because there's a lot out there in the internet world, and it can either be helpful or overwhelming. And I think just hearing other people's perspective can either be enough to inform you of like, oh, that doesn't sound like it's for me, or be like, oh, yep, I like that simplistic approach. I'm going to try that. So for me, I tend to take like the most simplistic approach possible in the beginning and then add in things as I think I need them. So I started out by continuing my prenatal supplement through postpartum, and then also continuing my beef liver from Ancestral Supplements through postpartum. And when I felt like I needed a little boost of support, I found this, actually a community member DM'd me and said, hey, you should check these out. These are amazing. But it's called Milk Moon Herbs, and they make a postpartum tincture. No, sorry. They make a postpartum tonic that you pour like 2 tablespoons into a glass of water. It actually has a really nice kind of sweet, herby, earthy flavor. And then they also have tinctures that you take. So they have a specific tincture to help milk supply. They have a specific tincture to help postpartum mood. They have a specific tincture to help postpartum nervous system regulation. And then a specific tincture to help postpartum sleep. So I just got the bundle. I got the postpartum bundle. It was expensive, but I think it was worth every penny, truthfully, because I finished the tonic, felt great, felt like I was replenishing a lot that had been lost, or a lot that had been being used up every day, because you're in such a high demand period of your life, just with nursing a newborn and recovering and healing and all those things. So really, really enjoyed their stuff. Like I said, I added that on as I felt like I needed it. The other thing I really liked, this is sort of in the realm of supplementation, but post birth, the Sitz soak, SITZ, like a sitz bath soak. I got one off of Amazon. It was like all organic. I believe if you just type in Sitz soak, you'll find it. It had, I can't even remember the herbs. It smelled amazing. It felt amazing. I got about 2-3 baths out of it. And I probably would have ordered another round had I not been healing so quickly, but I healed really, really quickly. So I didn't have any tearing, and my bleeding really stopped around week 4. So, but had I had any of those other variables, I would have continued to do those sit soaks, because they smelled nice. You just put it in the bathtub and kind of sit and soak in it. And it's something that makes you feel a tiny bit more luxurious when every other part of your body feels like it is falling apart and you're just trying to put the pieces back together. So having little things like that to look forward to was really helpful. So that is kind of it on the supplement train. Now, I will say, having my cycle back, yes, it is back, you guys. I got it back around 9 weeks. After my cycle came back, I started taking Ancestral Supplements Fem Enhancement product. I did not take it before. I don't know if you can take it before. I'm not sure, but for me, I just didn't want to take it and then have it cause anything. I don't even know if that's possible, but for me, the moment I started my cycle, I was like, all right, let's start regulating. Let's start taking the supplements we need to support this new phase of my body's system. So that's what I did, and I've really been loving that. It's great, and I highly recommend. So as far as must-have baby products goes, This I had to really think on because I'm a big minimalist. I like to just have a blanket on the floor that the baby can kick around and lay on. I don't want a swing or a bouncer or anything that takes up a lot of space in my home that adds to the visual clutter. I don't want that. So for me, I've quite literally used a good blanket on the floor, on the carpet that baby has kicked and rolled around on from day one. And of course, with 3 other kids, you have to be like, "Hey, baby on the floor, don't walk over here, don't run over here." Be mindful of that. But that's been really helpful. I have a couple blankets that I love that I just fold and they live in the corner of my living room. The other thing I have really loved since I'm not using any quote baby containers was our Snuggle Me organic. And I got this secondhand from a friend and when I had Ray and I kept it, thank goodness. It was like one of the only baby items that I didn't end up giving away. And it has just been so helpful. Like Bowman is currently napping on the floor right now as we speak in the Snuggle Me, just below this camera. So it's just a nice little boundary. It gives a little bit of a cushion on the sides. I never used it at night really, except for maybe the first couple days as a co-sleeper. But other than that, we've really just kept it for night or for nap times during the day on the couch when he's being observed and I'm awake so I can watch him. They say don't nap your baby in it, but I really don't know a single person who owns a Snuggle Me who doesn't let their baby sleep in it. So it's one of those products. It's like a Q-tip where it literally says on the box, like, don't insert into your ear, but every single person on the planet is buying Q-tips to clean their ears. I just think that's the funniest thing. Anyways, the Snuggle Me organic pillow, I would show you, but like I said, Bowman's napping in it right now. That is super nice to just have on hand. You can get them secondhand too. I believe they might be a little pricey, but look and see if you can get them secondhand. The other thing that has been a lifesaver for us, I've really loved the Baby Balm by Primally Pure. I love their product. I actually had a friend send me sort of like a little baby congratulations gift. Shout out to Lisa. Thank you, ma'am. That was so sweet. But I loved the Baby Balm. I'm almost out of it and I'm trying to get every little bit of that. It's just really nice. It's unscented. It's got really great ingredients, like ingredients you could eat basically. It's just like tallow and maybe a couple other different oils. And I've used it on Bowman to massage his belly and his legs after bath. I feel like it creates a good barrier for a baby. I've also used it as the lubricant for this other product I'm going to tell you about, which is going to sound crazy, but it's also been a big life changer for us. And that is the Windy by Frida. If you guys know those Frida nose sucker things, I've never owned one, but I hear great things. They came out with a product that basically, I should have brought it down here to show you guys, but it looks like a little cork of a wine bottle with like a tube on the end that's hollow. And so you insert that hollow tube into their bum and it helps relieve gas pressure. If they need to poop, it helps them poop, get it out. And so it sounds crazy, but my lactation consultant recommended it. And they have been super helpful. We've actually been on a journey with Bowman and we're trying to get him to be more regular and poop every day. And so that's one of the things that we are using. It's one of the tools in our toolbox. We're also trying to address it, chronically and go to the chiropractor and all those things too. But quick fix, those Frida, it's called a Windy, Windi, Windy. The packaging is hilarious. You will not miss it. You won't be confused what the product is. It's great, I think. And, I think it's worth the $10 for a pack just to have on hand. That way, if you're like, man, baby is so fussy, they're arching their back, they seem like they have all this gas, or they're tooting a lot, but they're not getting anything out. The Windy does the trick almost every time. We end up with a full diaper, which is really, really satisfying in a weird way. Just when you have a baby, you want to see them be able to poop and pee on a regular schedule, and that's really helping us with that goal. The other thing I have on here is I've been loving the Kudos diapers and wipes, Kudos. They are cotton based, so they're not plastic based like every other diaper. And I just feel like it's a small touch of luxury that I feel like is worth it. Because you're right, baby is in a diaper for the first like year and a half, 2 years of his life. And I didn't want him just always in something, one, very perfumey, very fragrancy, full of, things I wouldn't want up against my body. And so I chose to go with a little more natural of a product, and I went with the Kudos. And I'm through, I think, 3 packs now, and I've really loved it. I feel like the absorbency is great. The texture is great. I haven't had any issues as far as like skin, rash, or anything. I don't even change him through the night anymore. So I let him go all 12 hours in the night as long as there's no poop. And I haven't had any issues. Like, he stays nice and dry, and I really like it. Their wipes are 99.9% water. So they're very similar to those water wipes if you've seen those. And you can buy them as a bundle. I don't have a discount code, but I should get one because they're awesome. The other thing I have on my list is good coffee, because when you're postpartum, I think having something to wake up to in the morning to look forward to is important. So if you're a tea drinker, get some good tea. If you're a coffee drinker, get some good coffee. Stock your favorite kind, get excited about it, make yourself a latte, brew the Chemex, make a full pot. Hopefully sit down with your spouse and talk about how the night went, or talk about anything but baby, whatever feels right for you. But having good coffee in the morning can be incredibly helpful, just as something to like wake up, reset the day. Because when you're up in the night and then you finally decide, okay, well, I'm just going to stay up, it kind of feels like you're still in yesterday. It feels like you haven't even been able to move on to the next day. So having something that signifies like, no, we are in a fresh day, fresh start. No matter how hard last night was, let's move on. Obviously, you guys know we sell coffee at Hazelmeyer Goods. And if you remember, you can use the code Homegrown to get 10% off at checkout. That is specialty sourced coffee, roasted to order to your door. We have decaf options and caffeinated. Go check it out. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about breastfeeding, because that's obviously a huge part of the postpartum experience. And so for me, with our previous babies, we have gone down the tongue tie, lip tie revision road and seen great success from that. While it is hard, it was worth it for those children that required that revision. Luckily, Bowman, any sort of tethers that he might have are not strong enough or tight enough or thick enough to require revision, which is really great. So he's been able to maintain full functionality. We don't have any issues nursing. He's honestly been doing awesome. Now, what I will say is that I have been very mindful and careful not to begin pumping too soon. I actually just for the first time last week really tried a pumping session. And the reason for that is I really want to establish these first 12 weeks as much as possible, a good relationship with just me and Bowman. I don't want to introduce an exterior influence. I don't want to influence my milk supply in a negative way by becoming an overproducer. I don't want to demand anything that he isn't demanding of me. And now I know that that's a luxury because I'm not having to like leave him yet and go back to a work or job situation. So it's totally different if you do. I think pumping early is great and really smart, and you're champions. The women who pump are champions. I cannot say it enough. Like, pumping, in my opinion, is the harder thing because it's just so much easier to just throw the baby on the boob. But it is something I want to introduce slowly but surely in these next coming weeks, because I think it would be nice to have a stash. Right now I have 0 freezer stash. I think I maybe have 3 ounces in the freezer, and that's like 3 1-ounce little bags in my freezer because that's all I could ever get out of a pumping session. So I would love to like branch out into the option of leaving him with a bottle with someone else eventually. But I think if you're like, lean into what feels right for you, because if you're like, listen, I don't have big plans to leave, and you don't want to introduce a bottle or anything like that, then don't feel the pressure to have a big freezer stash. I think social media is crazy with all these like women pumping 6 to 8 ounces after they feed their baby. And I'm like, how in the world do you do that? That's insane. Just know Liz over here is not doing it. I'm not doing it. I kind of wish I could, but that's never been me. Moving on from the breastfeeding thing. Oh, the other thing I'll say about that is be so quick to get an expert opinion. I love our lactation consultant. I have paid her to come to the house twice now. They're like 2-hour appointments. She does weighted feeds. She can tell you if baby's tongue, lip, and cheek buckles, tongue tied, lip tied, cheek buckles are too tight, if you should consider doing body work, if you should consider getting them revised. She can tell you if there's a transfer issue, if there's a latching issue. Just the wealth of knowledge is incredible. If you find a really good lactation consultant, that can, while it is a bit of an investment up front, I think if it can save your breastfeeding journey, it's worth every penny. A somewhat controversial / non-crunchy opinion of mine is that I'm not anti-pacifier. I am very pro-pacifier used in a very intentional way. So what I mean by that is there's a lot of people that'll be like, you don't need a pacifier, don't worry about it. If baby needs to soothe, just you could be their pacifier, let them soothe on you, or they'll suck their hands or their fingers, or they'll be fine. And so I will say I have a baby currently who, if he is not hungry and I try to put him on me to feed or to like self-soothe, he gets really angry. So that is not an option for us. I am not his pacifier. He will not accept me as that. And so I learned that pretty early on. And I was like, okay, that's different. I've had other kids that would absolutely take that opportunity, but he's like, no, thanks. I'm good. And so I introduced a pacifier around 9 days old, I believe. I ideally wait about 2 weeks, but I didn't quite make it. And I found a pacifier that I looked similar to the kind that we used with Ray, which was recommended by our OT at the time. And she actually likes that kind of bulbous look of the Bibby pacifier. I actually have one right here. So if you're on YouTube, you can see this kind of like bulby look. The kids call it a spaceship. And so I just got that really cheap pack on Amazon and got him delivered the next day and started using it. He took it right away, like right away. And so the way that I would intentionally incorporate the pacifier into our life are only in times of preventing distress, because my goal kind of is to like make sure he never cries. I know that sounds crazy, but if in those first 12 weeks you can just like be on like defense or be on offense, I guess, 24/7 of trying to make sure your baby doesn't cry, your life will be so much better because they'll be happier all the time. So what that means is, like, if we're going into a scenario where I can't be right there holding him, like a car ride, pacifier is great at helping him soothe. It's a good soothing tool. If he needs a little bit of help transitioning from being awake to being asleep, and I'm not talking about sleep training, I'm just mean like I'm holding him, but he needs some help still transitioning to sleep, pacifier is great because, again, like, he wants to suck on something, but it's not me, and so he needs something else. Those are really the two times. Or if he clearly is gassy and we're trying to work through that problem, so like we're trying to navigate maybe massaging his legs or doing bicycle kicks or doing that windy thing that I talked about earlier, we'll use a pacifier in those scenarios if he wants to take it. We're never forcing it. We're never holding it in his mouth. It's only an option if he wants it. And then outside of that, he's fine. Right now, he's currently sucking on his hands. I've caught him sucking on his thumbs multiple times, which I'm totally cool if he becomes a thumb sucker. I'm good with that because you always have your thumb. And when it comes time to like train him to not do that, we just slap Band-Aids on our kids' fingers and it's not really an issue. So for me, I think it didn't mess with my breastfeeding relationship with him. I never used it when I knew he was hungry. If I knew he was hungry, I would feed him. And there was no sort of like nipple confusion with him. Now, your baby might be differently. might be different. I'm not sure, but I'm just sharing my experience because I think especially in the crunchy space, it's almost like pacifier. Like I can't even believe you would cave. Like I'm so surprised. So I do think there are ways to intentionally use a pacifier. And if you want, there are very, very breast-like pacifiers if that's the route you want to go. I have a couple family and friends who love those, and I think those are great. They almost like are purposely designed to not stay in the baby's mouth and only use if baby's really sucking on it, and then they kind of fall out after. If that's what you want, research those. Those are always an option too, but we've really liked these really cheap ones. Okay, moving on to managing the other children. So if you are a first-time mom and this is your first baby, obviously this doesn't apply to you. But when you have more kids that all of a sudden you are thrust into the day-to-day chaos, we're going to say maybe 3 or 4 days after baby's been born. If you had a baby in the hospital, you get like 2 days buffer because you're in the hospital, right? If you've had a home birth like we had, you might have family take your older kids for a couple days, but then around like day 3 or 4, you're probably thrown back into being like full-time parent to all your kids. Now, I will say, if you can recruit the help to come be like either take away your older kids during that time period, or at least be there present with you to help you with them, great. I think that's awesome. If you can't though, and all of a sudden, like I know lots of people who are like, my husband is taking like 1 week off or 3 weeks off or 4 weeks off, and then he has to go right back. And it, seems like a lot of time, but it's really not a lot of time. Listen, I get it. Joey was back to full work on week 2 of Bowman's life, and the weeks 2 and week 3 were incredibly busy. He was probably working 8 to 10 hour days. And then it did slow down a little bit as we got closer to Christmas. But I will say those early weeks with all 4 kids is challenging. So what do? One, I think you throw all of the expectations that you previously held, like I like having a clean and tidy home. I like cooking dinner every night. I like my kids not doing a lot of screens. You throw those expectations out the window, and then you wait and you see what comes back, because you'll know if you survived a day and you're like, nope, as much as I feel like I am in the pit right now, I still don't want my kids watching a show for more than an hour. Okay, great. Hold on to that expectation, but then fill it in with something else. Can you, on your next grocery order, get fresh sketch pads and a pack of markers and give that to them instead? Can you give them an activity to entertain themselves? Because you are going to be very preoccupied. Now, if you're like, nope, we're in a season of the holidays like we were, and you're like, Christmas movies, let's go. It doesn't matter, binge until your little heart is full. Just lean into that. Know that this is such a short period of time, and you can explain that to your kids too. Like, listen, we don't normally do TV on Tuesdays, but like today, where you guys can do that. However that looks for you, lean into it. Lean into what you are feeling like you need. When it comes to schooling, I didn't really even begin to go back into school mode until probably week 8 or 9, if that. And so again, just recognizing how short of a time this is, which almost isn't helpful for me even saying that, because it doesn't feel like a short time when you're in it. But in the grand scheme of your parenting, this is a short and unique time. And so what's more important than you being really diligent about being a screen-free family or being a homeschooling family that stays on top of all academics? What's more important is that you're still able to be kind to your kids. You're able to have like compassion and patience for them. You're able to have some level of energy for yourself. So prioritize those larger values over maybe your tightly held beliefs. And then the second you exit that survival stage of postpartum, those first newborn weeks, then jump back into your convictions full. I'm not anti having convictions as a parent. I'm just saying they're going to look a little different, especially with other kids in the house. I think that wraps up my postpartum experience. I'm looking over at my notes, and I think we've hit all of the things that I wanted to talk about. I do want to say thanks again to our podcast sponsor, Ancestral Supplements. please go check out their products. And if you try them, let me know. Make sure you use my code Homegrown. It saves you 15% off at checkout at ancestralsupplements.com. The things that I started out with were beef liver and then moved into their fish eggs and then their protein powder and now their femme product. Joey loves their meal enhancement product. I love their collagen. They have a minerals product that I've also taken. If you try it, DM me, let me know your experience. I want to know. Like I said before, they are third-party lab tested. They source from regeneratively raised cattle in New Zealand. They have a 30-day money-back guarantee. And not to mention, their entire team are so kind. If you have questions and you shoot them an email, they will respond to you. They love to genuinely see people get healthier and benefit from their product. And so they're willing to talk to you about how to best utilize their wide variety of offerings. So go check them out, ancestralsupplements.com. Use code Homegrown for 15% off. That wraps up today's postpartum episode. Thank you guys for listening as always. If you have more questions, and I can always follow up with content over on Instagram or in our Substack. I have such a heart for the postpartum mom because it's such a hard time of life, and yet there really is no going around it. You only go through it. So if I can help share my experience that lessens your load at all, I am a happy girl. I hope that everyone who is coming up into this season of postpartum is feeling equipped and energized, and those who are in it with me are managing every day and just honestly surviving, because that's the best we can do. So until next time.